We're going to go ahead and look at solving absolute value equations and then also graphing absolute value functions. Now, remember, absolute value represents distance from zero on a number line. So that means you're 5 units to the right on your number line. So how far are you away? You're 5. Here, you're 4 units to the left on the number line, so your absolute value of -4 is 4. In other words, if you have something that's to the right on your number line, well, it's just ending up being that number. It doesn't do anything. And when you're to the right on the number line, that means the inside's positive. If the inside's positive, absolute value does nothing. However, notice over here, when we were to the left on the number line and the inside was negative, we didn't get out exactly what we had on the inside. We got out the opposite of that, because the opposite of our -4 is a +4. So when the inside's negative, we get out the opposite of that negative number, because the opposite of a negative ends up being positive. And we know with absolute value, whatever we get out is positive. So once again, when we start out with absolute value and we're looking at this, either what's on the inside is positive and absolute value doesn't do anything, or what's on the inside is negative and we get out the opposite of that. And so you can think of it as, when you're solving equations, either absolute value does nothing and you just have it drop, or you take the opposite of what was on the inside of the absolute value and then set it equal to whatever you were solving. So we want to go ahead and solve this. Well, we're going to consider the two situations. If what's on the inside is positive, absolute value does nothing. And so we'll have this. But if what was on the inside was negative, the absolute value will make it positive by taking the opposite of that. And so then we would have this one here. We now have our two equations. We need to go ahead and solve these. Well, this one, we'll just go ahead and subtract 3 from both sides. This one here, there's a couple ways you could do it. You could divide both sides by -1, or you could distribute through the negative and then solve it. Does not make a difference. If you distribute, you get this. Then you're going to add your 3. Then you're going to divide by your negative or multiply by a negative, and you get this. So you have your two answers of 5 and of -11. Those are the two numbers that make this a true statement. If you plug those in, 5 plus 3 is 8. Absolute value of 8 is 8. If we take our -11 and plug it in, -11 plus 3 is -8. Absolute value of -8 is +8. So we want to do the same idea on all these for the most part. The only thing is, you need to make sure you get the absolute value on one side by itself first. So here absolute value is not by itself, so we're going to go ahead and subtract 5. But when you do that, you'll notice that the right-hand side is negative. The left-hand side is just your absolute value, and you know that whatever you get out of your absolute value is positive. So the left side's always positive, right side's always negative. Well, a positive's never equal to a negative, so we don't even have to worry about solving this one. Now, if the right-hand side was a positive number, or even 0, yes, we'd have to go ahead and solve it. But since we know a positive can't equal a negative, we can just take the shortcut and say our answer is no solution for this particular one. So we'll get our absolute value by itself by adding 7 to both sides. Now we want to consider the two situations. If what's on the inside is positive, absolute value does nothing. And you notice on this one here, we can go ahead and work this out, because you notice you have a right-hand side is +7, left-hand side is your absolute value, which is positive. And will a positive ever be equal to a positive? Yes. So we'll look at the other situation. If what's on the inside is negative, absolute value makes it positive by taking the opposite of that. So now we'll go ahead and solve each one of these equations. In this case, I multiplied both sides by a negative. Now I'll go ahead and I'll add 2/3 to both sides. And now over here, I'll add 2/3 to both sides. You'll notice I initially had a over 5 here, but it's really over 3, because when you take a negative 7 and then add 2/3, you're going to get something with thirds here. Now we need to go ahead and divide both sides by 5 here. Divide both sides by 5 here. So these are the two numbers that are going to make our original statement true. So if we try plugging either one of these numbers in up here, we would get a true statement. So for the most part, what we have here are problems where I'm going to have you go ahead and try these on your own, and then quickly watch the video to see if you agree. So pause it, and then work these out, and then play the video. So if what's on the inside is negative, we're going to take the opposite of that, and we're going to solve that. We're going to just get rid of the negative. We're going to solve it for x. We get negative 10. If what's on the inside is positive, we'll get this here. And then we'll solve that. And so we get our two answers of 5 and negative 10. Now, on this one here, we have two equations, or two variables, I should say. Sorry about that. And we're going to go ahead and graph this. Now, to graph this, we're going to make ourselves a t-chart. The easiest way to make yourself a t-chart is to look at what causes the inside of the absolute value to be 0. So we're going to take what's on the inside of your absolute value, set it equal to 0. And we get negative 3. So now we're going to choose numbers on each side of negative 3. So I'm going to try the first three numbers to the left of negative 3 on a number line, and the next three numbers to the right on a number line. All we have to do now is make ourselves a t-chart, plug these numbers in, and plot our points. Plug in negative 6. Negative 6 plus 3 is negative 3. Absolute value of that is 6 times 2 minus 4, and we get 2. Plug in our negative 5. Negative 5 plus 3 is negative 2. Absolute value of that is 2 times 2 is 4, minus 0, or 4 is 0, and so on. And we just continue to do that, plugging those numbers in, and we get our points. And these are the points that we can go ahead and plot. So here, this point would be 6 to the left, up 2, 5 to the left, up 0, 4 to the left, down 2, 3 to the left, down 4, 2 to the left, down 2, 1 to the left, down 0, and 0 to the right, and up 2. When we plot those points, we get this shape here. So what I'd like you to do is to go ahead and show the work to be able to get this graph in this one here. So you set it equal to 0 on the inside, you solve it, you get 2. So then you're going to try three numbers on each side of 2. Plug those in to your original problem to be able to figure out what your y value is, plot your points, and you get this.